So today is Sunday, that means it's time for family movie night. And this week we are looking at the second Lord of the Rings movie. We did Fellowship of the Ring last week, and this week we're looking at The Two Towers. Next week we'll do Return of the King. So these are very, very, very epic movies, very engrossing movies. And I did watch the extended edition for my watches of all these. This was the first time I'd ever watched the extended edition. I enjoyed them very much. And this middle movie, it's really interesting, and it was, I have to say, a little bit better than I remembered. I certainly had good memories of it, but it wasn't as plotting as I remembered even in the extended edition. I was more interested in things that I maybe wasn't as interested when I initially watched it. I think that the first movie is so good at building the characters and creating such heart in the characters, especially Frodo and Samwise. I just grow to love them so much, but I think they all have such great moments between Gandalf and Aragorn and everything like that. And I think that this second movie does certainly have those moments, but I think that it also has some of these sort of layers of political dynamics going on, which I actually thought was pretty interesting. Basically, you have the Fellowship has split up. You have Samwise and Frodo going towards Mordor to try to destroy the ring, and they end up meeting Gollum, and Sam doesn't like Gollum, but Frodo takes pity on him and feels like he could maybe show them where the way to Mordor, because they just keep going in circles and circles and circles. And so there's an interesting dynamic there between those three characters. And then you have Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli all going to try to find Merry and Pippin and save them from the Uruk-hai, I think is how you say it, from the orc leaders that have taken them. Because these orcs think that they have the ring. They think Merry and Pippin are the halflings that they're going to take to Saruman and give him the ring. Well, they end up, through various things happening, Merry and Pippin end up meeting these tree creatures and this character named Treebeard. Frodo and Sam meeting up with Boromir's brother, Faramir. Faramir is very different in this movie than he is in the book. So they decided to take Shelob, the spider character, and put him in Return of the King to kind of create conflict for Frodo and Sam and the characters. And so they decided to change Faramir into this character that was skeptical, that was antagonistic against Frodo and Sam, and he's not like that at all in the book. And he's a very loving character. And they created this whole dynamic between Boromir and Faramir. And there's this animosity and everything. And they also changed. So Theoden, the king, is kind of possessed by Saruman. In the book, he's more just sort of depressed and sad, and he's controlled by this guy named Wormtongue, who's kind of Saruman's slave. So Theoden has been convinced by Saruman and by Wormtongue to expel these people called the Rohirrim, and then so there's sort of these refugees that you have going on, and they're very bitter, and they end up meeting Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. So you have kind of all these different dynamics. You have these refugees that have a certain point of view. You have Faramir, who has a certain point of view in this version, that he's sort of bitter towards his father and competitive against his brother. And then you have the Ents, who are very reticent to help in the conflict, in the war. And Merry and Pippin have to kind of try to convince them to become involved in the war. And
how can that be your decision?
This is not our war.
But you're part of this world! Aren't you?
Culminates in the Battle of Helm's Deep. In the book, Helm's Deep is a much smaller part of the narrative. You're focusing a lot more on the hobbits, Merry and Pippin, and Frodo and Sam. And in my opinion, I think that the Battle of Helm's Deep is a little indulgent. It's a little too long, but it's a lot better than, say, the Battle of the Five Armies in the third Hobbit movie. It's a lot more compelling because you actually have gotten to know all these different, perspectives. You also see some of a little bit of the elves and Arwen, finally deciding to leave, and that being just a heartbreaking decision for her. And so you have the elves fighting at Helm's Deep, and Helm's Deep is kind of is built into this cave, and so you have this protection kind of. And so, I don't know, there's just all these different dynamics going on, all these different characters, and my favorite part of the whole movie is Sam's speech to Frodo about stories. And this is just a great moment in movies, of all movies, I think. It's so good.
The great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. In the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you. That meant something.
I also really like the dynamic that you have between Frodo and Gollum, and how Frodo, the ring is getting more and more powerful. He almost succumbs to the power of Saruman and his and his calling, I guess, out to him in that scene on in the battle. And Sam is the only one that kind of stops him from, because the ring is just so powerful. It's so powerful, and evil can be extremely powerful. And he sees Gollum, and he has this hope that there's some good in him left. Because in that hope for Gollum is a hope for himself. And I really find that really great. And I think that also, on the same breath, seeing Gollum like this for Sam is very scary, because he sees that as sort of the end game for his friend. Have some time spent with Galadriel. So just all these characters are interesting and fleshed out a little bit better in this movie. But to me, it's Elwyn is introduced in this film, and she's a great character. I think she's an underrated character in this series. She's spunky, but she's also vulnerable, and she falls in love with Aragorn. Who wouldn't, right? In the last video, we also have Christopher Lee as Saruman. He's so good in these three movies. Such a intimidating, commanding villain. And then, so that's really good. Like Bernard Hill as Theoden. First, he's like all sort of crinkly and weird because he's possessed by this evil power by Saruman. And then when he gets free, I think he becomes a very interesting character, complex character. So anyway, it's just interesting to see these characters with these different motivations for war. Some people want to protect. Some people are more sort of bitter and want revenge. Some people some people have more noble intentions about facing off against evil. Some people want sort of power and want sort of recognition in a way, and I think that's sort of the way that they portray Faramir here. That he kind of wants that glory that of the sort of unnoticed son. And, and then you've got Aragorn kind of growing in this. He sees what happens to Arwen. He makes the decision to go and help Merry and Pippin. I think their dynamic is really good, Merry and Pippin, in here, especially when they are trying to convince the Ents to go into battle and to help and not just sort of be pacifists. And so anyway, it's a really, really good movie. The cinematography is amazing. The special effects are amazing. I do think it can get a little bit boring in the Battle of Helm's Deep, but I still like it. It's not a big deal for me. But anyway, so that's sort of my thoughts on the Two Towers. This, I think, it sets up really nicely for Return of the King, for your exciting finale to this amazing series. So let me know what you think about this one, Two Towers, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!